Senator Patrick.
Thank you, Madam Acting Deputy President. I move business of the Senate notice of motion number 1 standing in my name for today. Now, in order to talk about this motion, which is a referral to the FADT committee, I need to give a bit of history about Australia's relationship with East Timor. If we go back to the 1960s, that's when Australia discovered that there was oil and gas underneath the Timor Sea. And quite rightly, I guess we were interested in that oil and gas, and maybe there was a prospect of working together with the Portuguese colony of East Timor. But of course, these sorts of negotiations take a long time. We moved from the 60s to the 70s. 1972 is when Australia negotiated a treaty, a sea border treaty with Indonesia. Now, everyone needs to understand the geography here. Indonesia flanks East Timor on both sides, and so when the sea boundary was settled with Indonesia, it left a gap in relation to where the sea boundary was to be with East Timor, and that was colloquially known as the Timor Gap. We then had a situation a couple of years later where Portugal granted East Timor independence. But at the urging of the Australian government, sadly, at the urging of the Australian government, Indonesia then annexed East Timor. And we remember that occurring in 1975, and indeed we all remember the Balibo Five and the tragedy that occurred there. But rolling on from that, over the next sort of 15 years, well over 200,000 East Timorese died during what can only be described as a challenging occupation, with, of course, strong resistance from people in East Timor. That brings us around, moving to 1999, where, by way of popular consultation, East Timor finally achieved its independence, or at least voted for its independence, and Australia did help out with Interfet. And nothing in my remarks today are intended to in any way be disparaging of the Australian Defence Force. That did a great job in respect of operations up in and around Timor and the border with Indonesia. Of course, now that Timor was independent, TimorLeste was an independent country, one of the newest countries, the newest country in the world, a very poor country. We then started negotiations on a seabed boundary with that country. Now, after agreeing to negotiate in good faith, it's well understood that Australia, during the negotiations to get to a treaty that was later signed in 2006, we spied on the East Timorese negotiating team. Now, it was an operation that was conducted by ASIS, and indeed, if we were to ask the government to respond to that suggestion, they would simply say, we neither confirm nor deny. But if you want confirmation of it, you just have to go down to the ACT Supreme Court this week, where there are interlocutory hearings underway relating to Mr Bernard Collaery and witness K, who are alleged to have revealed an operation. I can tell you that in Australia we don't prosecute people for an allegation that they revealed a fictitious intelligence operation. So we know that operation took place. Everyone knows it. The government seeks not to acknowledge that that is the case, but I think that is a general understanding. That led then, of course, to we had a treaty signed. Once it was known that it was done in a manner that was fraudulent, and we know from Lord Denning that fraud unravels everything, we were challenged, of course, in the International Court of Arbitration in The Hague after raiding Bernard Collaery's office. That matter resulted in a matter going to the International Court of Justice, where Australia was ordered to hand back legal documents to Timor-Leste that had been taken during the raids, and was also given an extraordinary order in relation to not spying on the East Timorese legal team. Australia knew they were on a hiding to nowhere in the arbitration, and as a result they acquiesced. They agreed to renegotiate the treaty, and those negotiations took place, and of course on the 18th of March 2018 Australia and Timor-Leste signed a maritime boundary treaty establishing a permanent maritime boundary in the Timor Sea. Now, we need to put that past behind us. Okay? East Timor is our friend. It's a friend that is not going away. They are just to the north of Australia, and we need to be working with the East Timorese, with them. Now, they have a vision. It's a vision of Xanana Gusmao that they would like to process oil from Greater Sunrise, which is in effect a shared resource. They'd like to process that on the south coast of East Timor. There are two options available. One of the options is to process that oil and gas in existing facilities in Darwin, or for that oil and gas to be processed onshore on the south coast. Now, you don't have to be an expert in project management to realise that it's much, much simpler for that oil and gas to be processed here in Australia with existing resources. But we need to respect the other option being that Timor-Leste develops a corridor of industry that provides jobs, that provides economic security, that helps to educate and tool up their economy. So, what I'm asking for in this motion, not because I want the Senate to consider which is the better option, the processing on Australian shores option or the processing on the south coast of Timor-Leste option. I've moved a motion that recognises that it is going to be more difficult to process oil on the south coast. It's going to be laden with a lot more risk, and therefore we need to support our friend Timor-Leste if they choose to go down that path. And indeed the terms of reference are pretty simple. They simply say we want to examine what assistance and cooperation has been offered to date by the Australian Government to the Tasi Mane project, which is what they refer to that South Coast project as. What possible future assistance and cooperation by the Australian Government can we give in relation to Tasi Mane? What opportunities are there for Australian industry? What opportunities are there that are incidental to the project? Okay, the committee would examine these things in order to assist East Timor, and indeed to try and work out how we would best integrate Australian industry into a solution up there. And there are a number of companies that could easily participate up there. ADCO Constructions, BGT, Hutchinson, Downer EDI, Worley Parsons. There would be, that's naming some construction companies, but all of the incidentals, all the incidental activity could lead to a whole range of Australian jobs assisting our friends in Timor-Leste. Now, I visited Timor-Leste late last year, at the 20th anniversary of the popular consultation, I took the opportunity to venture down to the south coast. I went down there, and it's quite amazing some of the things that I saw. I saw a dual lane, dual carriageway freeway that had been built by the Chinese. I saw power lines that had been built by the Chinese. I saw a power station that had been built by Indonesia. I saw an airport that had been built by Indonesia. I saw lots of things happening down on that south coast that are being done in preparation for the Tasi Mane project. Nothing stood out in respect of what Australia was doing down there. And it concerns me. I actually visited the south coast with a journalist from the Australian, Greg Brown. We went to some camps where there were Chinese nationals that had been involved in the construction of the freeway. They're there waiting for the next section of freeway to be commenced. And they made it very clear to Greg Brown when he asked the question, how long are you staying for? And he said, the Chinese responded, "We're here forever. We are here forever." And it's not an isolated incident in the context. If we go back to 2007, December 2007, we know from WikiLeaks that the Chinese offered to do things like put a surveillance radar on the south coast of Timor-Leste. There is interest in East Timor, or Timor-Leste, from the Chinese as they expand their influence. And it's my strong view that having Chinese military assets, which will eventually occur if we ignore Timor-Leste, on what is effectively a stationary aircraft carrier just to the north of Australia. It is not in our strategic interest to have a strong Chinese footprint in our neighbours, in this neighbouring country, not in any way, shape or form. And that means we need to engage. We need to be helping Timor-Leste in their endeavours. We need to make sure that as they move ahead with this project, as I'm pretty sure they will, that we are assisting them, because if we ignore them, if we don't assist them, they will move on. We will not be involved. And in 10 years' time, I can guarantee you, I'll be sitting in a park somewhere reading back the Hansards of today on the day that we're seeing military bases being established on the south coast of Timor-Leste, not in Australia's best interest by any means. So this motion is a motion that calls for an inquiry by the FADT committee to examine how we can help them. That's all it does. Just says, what can Australia do to help Timor-Leste? What can we do to maximise our industry involvement? And I'm pretty sure the government is going to oppose us. I don't understand why they would do that. I'm pretty sure the Labor Party is going to oppose this, and I don't understand why they're going to do this. This is about Australian jobs. This is about helping Timor-Leste. I was up when the popular consultation was being celebrated, the 20-year anniversary. I was there when the president of the ACTU received rewards for her efforts in respect of assisting Timor-Leste, and it just saddens me that when given the opportunity to look at how to help Timor-Leste, it's likely that the Senate is going to refuse to do that. Thank you.